This episode may contain language or discussions that may be offensive or triggering. Refer to the episode summary for details. Welcome to the SheConfidential podcast. Today I am chatting with Shahada Karim of Habibi Wellness, and she is a wellness entrepreneur. And today we are going to talk about all the things that are related to just wellness and health and improving your quality of life. Because we know that over the past couple of years, we as a society have been collectively talking about and thinking about death and dying, maybe more than ever. And this is due in large part due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But unfortunately and unsurprisingly, these conversations have contributed to a lot of fear and unhealthier lifestyles and lots of damage and trauma. And so today we're going to talk about how we can flip this and how we can shift the conversation to how we can thrive while we're living instead of fixating on dying and sickness. And we're going to really highlight how Black women in particular who are juggling businesses and life outside the office, what we can do to live more fulfilling lives. So thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me today about a conversation, a topic that impacts everything we do and everything related to us manifesting and maximizing our joy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And so one of the first questions I have for you is about our health checkups. So we always hear that people need to know their health numbers. What health numbers are important for Black women to know?
I think the health numbers correspond with the statistics, right? So we should always know what our blood pressure looks like. We should be aware of our BMI. I know that that's a sensitive subject for some people, but it is important to know how much you are carrying around your organs, particularly your heart. You should be very aware of what's happening with your blood quality. Check on your folate levels, check on your iron levels, check your B levels. Make sure that everything corresponds. What we tend to get caught up in, especially in the Black community, we tend to get caught up in the aesthetic. Well, I feel fine. I look fine. Therefore, I am fine. Instead of just find out. Just make sure everything's running the way it's supposed to be running. It's not a big deal. Take an hour, go see your doctor, get some blood drawn, step on a scale. Just information is power. The more we know, the more we can make educated decisions. It doesn't always have to be bad news. My favorite thing is for my doctor to be like, everything's fine. Get out of my office, right? I'm very happy to know that when I'm not going to the doctor, I'm doing the things in between to maintain healthy levels in my body. The more we understand who we are from the inside out, the more educated decisions we can make about how we live.
Yeah. And I appreciate that you mentioned that a lot of times we emphasize, I feel fine, instead of knowing that we're actually okay. Because people and thank you for recognizing the sensitivity that a lot of folks have around BMI. And there's I've heard from a lot of wellness professionals that the number is useless, that it doesn't really tell us anything about an indicator of a person's health. But I appreciate the way in which you framed it, because it's not as much about the number, but getting all those other numbers related to it.
And understanding how all of those numbers work in harmony to make up your whole self. I ask people to not get attached to the number, but to understand what the number is. The more you understand what a number is, the less likely you are to take it personally. This isn't an affront. Yeah. This isn't a slight against you. That number it's just a number. What you choose to do with it is really where the change comes in. You have to decide that you want a certain quality of life. That is a very personal decision. The thing about saying that I feel fine, we exist in perpetual trauma. We don't know what fine feels like. You telling me that you feel fine is very subjective. So you feel fine as opposed to in full-blown panic, or you feel fine as opposed to debilitating depression. This is not a good gauge. right? So go and
Mhm.
find out what the numbers say so that you can take a
Mhm.
look at yourself and say, okay, I think I feel fine, but my response may also be informed by something outside of myself. I may be
Yeah.
informed by trauma. I might actually be stressed at work, but since I got the job done,
Mhm.
I feel fine, right? Not that I had now have high
Mhm.
blood pressure or I have hypertension or
Mhm.
I have sleep problems or I'm eating emotionally and completely unconscious about what goes into my body from the time that I wake up till the time that I go to sleep. I can't figure out why I'm so fatigued at 4 p.m. that I must have a shot of coffee or I'm going to collapse,
Mhm.
or I can't figure out why I can't function before that first shot of coffee in the morning. I don't even want to have a conversation with a person. These are not normal behaviors. They're cultural. We think that it's normal to have coffee in the morning. We think that it's normal to
Mhm.
wind down with a glass of wine in the evening. When the truth is that
Mhm.
we have set our lives up that they are so stressful that we got to come up in the morning and drop down in the evening. So we need an upper in the morning and a downer in the evening. That is not balanced behavior. So while you may feel fine because society tells you you need your morning cup of joe and your nightly glass of wine, that is not balanced in your body, and your body knows better. Your body will tell you when something is wrong. So get your numbers checked. It's just worth it to have the information.
Yeah. And the point that you just made about being in a space of trauma or just you're used to feeling miserable. We can get used to some really crappy things.
Mhm.
And if you're used to being fatigued or if you're used to being in pain all the time, that's your new normal. So
Right.
when somebody says to you, "How are you feeling?" "Oh, I'm fine because this is my normal."
Right. We tend to be
Yeah.
dishonest because we don't want to be seen as incompetent. We don't want to be seen as weak. I can handle it.
Mhm.
How many times have you heard that? It's fine. I got it. I can handle it. I'm not asking you to handle it. I'm asking you how you feel.
Yeah.
Your ability to
Yeah.
carry a weight beyond your body's capacity is not a badge of honor. And
Yeah.
particularly as Black women, we have to get out of that mindset that it's our job to carry the universe on our shoulders because we're strong, because we can handle
Yeah.
it. It's fine, strong Black woman. How many times have you heard that?
Mhm. Yeah.
When does a strong Black woman get to put the weight down, shake off the shoulders, and say, okay, I would like to take a little time for myself? I would like to make sure that I don't suddenly have a heart attack, or I don't have a stroke,
Mhm.
or all of a sudden I'm on 5 medications because I haven't been paying attention to myself. I've been taking care of everything else because I can handle it.
Yeah.
It's up to us to say no sometimes. It's up to us to
Mhm.
put ourselves first and say, actually, I need a minute. I'll get back to you once I've taken that minute. But
Yeah.
we think that if we stop moving, if we stop running headlong into whatever goal we set ourselves up for, then suddenly we are less than. We defer our own dreams all of the time in order to make a quota, to make a certain amount of money, to have certain experiences. We stop thinking about what we need. We're constantly thinking about what others need and how we appear. Do I appear strong? I am not a damsel in distress. I do not need saving. I can do fine all by myself. These are tropes that go around and around and around, and they've been going for generations. I heard them as a child. I still hear them as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we push past that to decipher what our bodies are telling us when we're just so conditioned to do that?
We have to start by being honest with ourselves. What I tell people is that you have to be honest. You don't have to be honest with me, but you do have to be honest with you. What do you want? And typically the answer is, oh, I want to make more money, or I really want to travel to Bali, or
Yeah.
I want to find a partner that appreciates me, or I really need these kids to get out of my house. Like it's something that's very
Mhm.
external, it's something that's outside of their bodies. And then I'll ask them again,
Mhm.
what do you want? And each time I ask the question, we get closer and closer and closer to what is happening on the inside, not what they are reacting to on the outside. And the most common answer is, I want to be free. I just want to be able to breathe without somebody pulling on me. I don't always want to have an obligation. I don't always need to have a deadline. I don't always need to feel obligated to pick up my phone or to answer the door or to listen to someone else's needs above my own. As women, we already put ourselves second. We are conditioned to do that in this society. As Black women, we absolutely put ourselves last. Everybody else has to be taken care of. Is everybody happy? Now let me go collapse in the corner and catch 10 minutes of a power nap before I jump back into the fray.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier going to the doctor and getting your numbers. I'm glad that you said that, because now with social media and just in a lot of wellness spaces, we're going to this extreme of everything is natural and we're just going to heal our body with herbs and all those things. And I heard you on another podcast. I can't remember that. I've listened to so many things that you've been on recently. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but you talked about having a respect for both Western medicine and holistic medicine. And so, can you talk a little bit about how we can incorporate both of those practices and resources in our overall wellness?
So, one of the criticisms of the wellness industry is that it fuels the fear of Western medicine, right? I think that a lot of our hesitation to go to the doctor is fear. We're so afraid that we're going to find out that some organ has failed or that, we have something that we don't want to have. And now we're freaked out. And as long as we were living in ignorant bliss, everything was fine. So
Mm.
there's also the fear of finding out, right? Because Western medicine has the ability to see inside of your body, and they're like, this is wrong, that's wrong, you need to fix this, you need to correct that,
Yeah.
right? Western medicine will tell you literally in a matter of hours or days at the latest that something is up because it can see on the inside of your body. The problem with the stereotypical responses in the wellness industry is that it fuels the fear of not going to the doctor. I took CMOS every day. I'm fine. Because CMOS is like the big thing, right? I had CMOS every
Yeah.
morning. I feel fine. Everything's perfect. Or, I took this herb, or I'm taking this supplement, or I add a sprinkle of this before I work out, or I take this after I work out. All of that is lovely. Go to the doctor. You can do both. I practice both all of the time. Go to the doctor so that if your iron levels drop, you don't chalk it up to you needing to put on another sweater. Maybe your iron is low. Maybe you're headed into anemia. Just ask the doctor to take your blood, find out if you're borderline anemic, and up your iron through your natural way, right? No one is saying you have to go on medication. You can maybe take care of it if you're not severe. And the only way to make sure you're not severe is to go to the doctor, right? You can
Yeah.
maintain your numbers. You can maintain a very balanced, healthy body and outlook naturally. But it does help to know exactly what you're addressing. That's where Western medicine comes in. It will tell you exactly what the problem is. And then maybe search for another way to do it besides, like, say your blood pressure is very high. Maybe you start working on cutting back the things that spike your blood pressure and increasing the things that lower it. There are many, many, many things that you can eat that naturally lower your blood pressure. In fact, if you're on blood pressure medication, you can't eat those things because they drop your blood pressure too low. So have some sweet potatoes, have some grapefruit, balance out your body and drop your blood pressure.
Yeah. And it's good that you mentioned that, because I've often heard people say, "Oh, they put you on all those medications and then you can't even have the food that will help heal you." So just don't even let them put you on those medications. And so I appreciate that you noted that if it's severe, there may be circumstances where you might need to be on the medication for a minute, while you get it under control, and then you can transition to the more natural way. But you got to know your numbers and know
You have
what you're
to.
working with to make that. Yeah.
Right. You have to. You can't assume that because you're going to the doctor, you're going to end up on medication. What people need to understand is if you go to the doctor and you end up on medication, you've gone too far. Now your body is being forced into a corrective state. That's what you need the medication for because now it's a problem. And if you don't adjust what is happening in your day-to-day life, that problem will perpetuate and possibly lead to something debilitating or an early death. That's why you're on medication. You're on medication because you haven't done the things to bring you back to center. The medication's job is to help you get back to center. Medication is not the enemy, but it is a sign. It is a message to you that you have to adjust. You have to change. I have clients that have come off of medication. They come to me because they're on medication and they want to be weaned off. But first, we have to figure out how you got here. We can't assume that the medication is evil. I just have to get off this medication. So tell me what herbs I'm supposed to take. Tell me what smoothies I'm supposed to have. This is typically a first conversation. And it's typically that the medication is a terrible thing. I can't believe I'm on all these medications and I just need to come off. And I'm like, okay, stop. We need to talk to your doctor. I will never recommend that anybody do anything without a doctor's supervision because there are some medications that you cannot just come off of. You have to be weaned. And at least two of my clients who started out very, very severe medications that came with a lot of warnings, we weaned them off over time.
Yeah.
And the doses got lower and lower and lower until they were able to sustain on their own. But some medications, if you come off of them suddenly, will send your body into seizure. And we don't want that either. Right? So we have to find a balance. And you cannot find a balance with just one thing. It doesn't matter what people try to sell you. Most people who tell you you can fix everything with an herb or a plant do not have any medical knowledge. They also don't respect the medical field, which is dangerous. And the older we get, the more dangerous that mindset gets. Respect the practices of both sides. I am not telling you not to have your sea moss. Have your sea moss. It's great. You can get between 92 and 102 minerals in your body every day. Yay. But guess what? That is not all the nutrients that you need. Sea moss is not going to fix all of your problems. Kale is not going to fix all of your problems, no matter what anybody tells you. Every few years we come up against the miracle thing, the thing that will fix it all. You just take this thing, you just do this thing, and all of your problems will be solved. That happens every few years. And we're not immune to it. We're not immune to it in the Black community. They're not immune to it. Non-Black people are not immune to it either. They have now entire companies and entire websites dedicated to getting you as far away from your doctor as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of informing you and educating you and helping you understand that all of these things work in harmony. If we do this right, all of the things work in harmony. Western medicine and Eastern medicine, your herbs and your checkups work in harmony to bring forth the best version of you.
Yeah. And I know you do a lot of yoga. I like your yoga videos, and you have like the most soothing voice
Thank
and your
you.
instruction for them. How do things like, and right now, yoga is having this big popularity
Mhm.
resurge right now. And so how can yoga help us improve like our physical and mental and emotional health?
The beauty about yoga is that there's so many different ways to do it. There are hundreds of different styles and ways and philosophies that all tie back into balance and harmony.
Mm.
So, however you choose to practice, even if you practice by sitting still and breathing, you are still bringing balance and harmony into your person. I like to approach yoga from a training perspective. I like to think of yoga as a tool instead of using it to escape. I like to use it as a training mechanism for the rest of my life. Our philosophy is how you are on your mat is how you are off your mat. So, how you react to poses that are uncomfortable, how you react to suddenly being short of breath, how you react to becoming angry because your body is not doing what you think it should be able to do. All of those things factor into your life off your mat. How you react to difficult people or difficult situations or places and things of which you have no control. The more you practice those things in your body, even if it's just with breathing, even if it's just breath work, the more you train yourself for the space outside of your body. You train yourself for the environment. You train yourself for any kind of situation that might come up. What I explain to people is that you will never, ever, ever be able to control everything around you. The only thing that you can control is how you react to it. So we encourage reaction, we encourage reflection versus reaction. We ask you to stop, take a breath, turn inside.
Have you always been able to do that for yourself, or how did you develop that skill and mindset?
Absolutely not. Oh, no, 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 no. I've been a journalist since I was 18. I worked in some of the most stressful newsrooms you can imagine. I was in the newsroom for every election up to Biden, from HW to Biden. So I covered every election night. I was there for 9/11. I have
Mhm,
been in very, very high stress, high energy spaces. Every fire, every car chase, every shooting, every riot, the things that you see on TV, I was logging that footage or going to that place. So the amount of stress that I put my body through at a very young age, which is why we can't say that we feel fine, because I thought I was fine until I couldn't digest food because I had two ulcers. The amount of stress I put my body through without balance was insane. I got my first ulcer at 25. And that was just internalizing, holding on to all of the stimulus that was coming at me every single day. And I'm an old school journalist. So old school journalists used our job was to absorb information whether we were on the clock or not. So
mhm,
I would read the paper in the morning, turn on the news in the morning before I even got to work, absorb everything I possibly could, turn on the radio, listen to the news on their way to work, make notes, get in there, work my shift, keep an eye on everything, and then leave and do the exact same thing until I collapsed. So I was constantly inundated with information from the time that I woke up till the time I went to sleep. And I lived for it, right? It was very exciting. It was really sexy. It was amazing to be a journalist and to be in the center of an information hub. It is also very debilitating because you're constantly stimulated and you do not have time to process the amount of information that is coming at you from all over the world. We dealt with international wires, so we would get stuff from the Middle East, from Scotland. We would get things all of the time. And sometimes the information was benign, a lot of times it wasn't. A lot of times it was very traumatic. And what happened to myself and a lot of people around us is that we just shut off the emotional valve. You can't react to
mhm.
everything, right? So we just stop reacting to anything, which is equally dangerous because you don't know what's happening to the inside of your body while you're shutting off emotions and shutting off things because you can handle it. You just have to get the job done. Do the job, do the job, do the job, right? Your whole life is the job. Well, by the time I got to the point where I was like, okay, I feel terrible. I wake up feeling terrible. I go to bed feeling terrible. And I'm at the point where the amount of information that I'm consuming is not enough. It's not enough for me. It doesn't make me happy anymore. So I started doing something other than, so my balance was working out, but I worked out like a crazy person. I was a gym rat. So I was either powerlifting or running until my legs didn't work anymore. That's how I alleviated the stress. I beat my body up to the point where the only thing I could do was have a protein shake and collapse and then back at it again the next day. I knew that I was stressed when I realized I was working out 7 days a week. And none of those days were days where I was stretching or doing yoga. Every single day was go, 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 go. I was beating myself up. And I would read in publications, oh, you should have a rest day. And I'm like, rest days are for wimps, right? I just need to go because I'm a type A personality. So I'm very competitive and I chase the thing, I chase the goal. And as a young person, I 100% chased every goal. And then eventually, all of this stimulus, all of this information, all of this news stopped feeding me. And it was when it stopped feeding me that I realized that I was really unhappy. I didn't know why I was unhappy. I just was feeling something else. It wasn't enough to just have access to the information. I needed something else. So my first foray into yoga as an adult, because we have to skip the whole childhood thing, my mother practiced. But who does what their mother does? As soon as I became a teenager, I did exactly the opposite and decided to run and power lift, right? Because that wasn't happening in my family. In my family, it was yoga and Tai Chi. Everybody moved very slow and they were very mindful. I didn't have time for that. I was going out trying to conquer the world, right? Plus, I'm in news, which fuels that aggressive type A personality. And Tai Chi is just not going to do it. Yoga is not, that's not satisfying for me. I need to lift my body weight, put more weight on the barbell. I need to power lift. I need to squat. I need to run. I just heavy, heavy, heavy competition. And when I realized that I wasn't happy, I was like, well, maybe you need to stretch. You don't really stretch. Go stretch. So I wandered into a yoga class at the gym. And the yoga teacher was this gentle, sweet, kind woman who would turn out the lights, which annoyed me because now I can't see myself because I can't tell like if I'm doing it right. And I can't mean mug the person next to me who's probably doing it better and then put myself in silent competition to do better than them. Why are you turning out the lights? Turn out the lights so we get out of our own way and start feeling things. And I'm still squinting in the dark. Like, please know that even though the lights are out, I'm still trying to find out if I'm the good one, if I'm the good student, if I'm doing it right, if I'm going to get a compliment. She never complimented anybody. It didn't stop me from trying to win her favor, right? And eventually I learned how to relax because the thing that really messed me up in that class is that the teacher, who had quite a few years on me, was not only super gentle and easy, she was so flexible. She could do things, and I would try to do a forward fold and almost fall on my face. And I was so mad because I was trying to chase the pose. I'm like, that's okay. I just need to make the shape. So, what do I need to do to make the shape? That's not what yoga is about. It's not about making the shape. It's about what you learn as you move into the shape and as you move out of the shape. And it took me a long time to let go and allow my body to do the things that it's naturally designed to do. I spent a lot of time chasing the aesthetic. I spent a lot of time chasing what I thought were lofty goals, especially in my physical self. So it was always about putting more weight on the bar. It was always about running an extra mile. It was always about being as aggressive in my physical practice as I was at my job. So I was very aggressive in my job. And honestly, after I started going to her class, I found another class that was more comparable to my personality. It was a power yoga class. But the interesting thing about that class was instead of us just chasing these poses and doing a million poses in 60 minutes, this man would make us hold poses forever. And we would be shaking and sweating. While he talked, he would just wax poetic about whatever while we're in this pose and angry because we can't even think because everything is in so much pain. And then eventually, just when you thought you were going to pass out, he'd pull you out of the pose. We didn't do that many poses in the class, but the class was still 60 minutes. And we held the poses for a really long time. Initially, they wouldn't even be difficult to do. It would be a downward dog or a warrior two. They'd be very common poses. They wouldn't be things that were super fancy or that required a special skill. They would be some of the first 9 poses you learn in yoga. But when you hold downward dog for 5 minutes, or you hold warrior two for 5 minutes and everything starts shaking, and he's constantly tweaking you as he's talking. Pull your knee a little bit to the right, straighten your back leg, drop your tailbone down, drop your shoulders. So as he's telling you whatever story he's telling you, he's also giving you these micro adjustments. You can't even think to do the micro adjustments because everything hurts. Everything hurts. Your hamstrings are on fire. You can't feel your arms anymore. Your shoulders are up around your ears. The sweat is just in your eyes, and it's just horrible. And then he'd be like, okay, and step back. And by then, you're just rubber. You're just like, I just want to sit down. But you can't sit down because everybody else is moving, right? And I'm a competitive person, so I refuse to sit down, even though I really need to lay down and take a minute. But I'm not laying down because nobody else is laying down. And y'all are not going to show me up, right? I'm going to do this. So I religiously went to this man's class until I was like, okay, I might die. I think I need to go back to the first class, learn how to relax, get it together, and then come back to this man's class. And what I found out is that I needed both. Both of them fed each other. I was better in the other class for having taken the first one. So I would go back and forth. And that was really my first experiment with balance in my body, with ease and strength, right? So we find that yoga is a combination of strength and ease. The more we understand that, the easier it is for us to find harmony in other parts of our lives. You can be strong and gentle. You don't have to be all of one thing or all of the other thing. That was a very strong lesson for me to learn, but it really advanced my practice. So by the time I went into a studio, I had a better understanding of how to hold on and let go at the same time. Had I started at a studio, I would have quit because I didn't understand the fundamentals of breathing into a thing and letting a pose come to you as opposed to chasing it.
Wow. And that could apply to so many things in life as you were describing that
It
journey.
can.
My gosh. Yeah.
We have a lot to learn. I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. But even within our bodies, even within our own psyche, we have so much to learn if we just open up to the possibility of who we can become. Instead of fitting into an aesthetic that works on Instagram or that works in a corporate experience or that even works in a relaxed experience, we need to start listening to ourselves so that we might be, for lack of a better word, more authentic. If I know who I am, I can give you an authentic version of myself. You are not going to meet my representative, right? You're not going to meet my PR person. That's what I tell people. First 3 weeks, somebody just met your representative. This is not who you
Yeah.
are, right? You're putting your best foot forward because you want to impress the other person, whether it's a job interview or a teaching gig or a new friendship or a new relationship. But the more you come in contact with who you are as a person and you understand this is who I am, good, bad, or indifferent, which doesn't mean that imagery and that idea is set in stone, but it gives you an idea of where you're starting from. This is who I am right now. Do I want to evolve from this place? Naturally. How do I do that? But we have to start by being honest. We have to decide to be honest with ourselves so that we can find out where we are in this particular space of existence so that we can make an informed decision about how to grow. How can you grow if you don't know where you're starting?
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question about the resources that you provide in your coaching services, because I know for me is, and I just had this conversation with somebody else, I can manage everything at work and in business perfectly. Like, I am on my A game there. I love to be in control. I love to be the responsible taskmaster. But when it comes to my personal life, I think because I do so much of that in business and at work, I'm exhausted when it comes to my own personal life. And so I'm
Yeah.
more of, let me find the people to tell me what to do. And so working with a wellness coach is very helpful for me. Working with a personal trainer is very helpful for me. You know, having somebody tell me this is what you need to eat based on, again, knowing your numbers. And I won't even get into it on this episode because I've told the story so many times on this podcast about how I was feeling fatigued and sick and went to the doctor and was dismissed by the practitioner because she looked at me and said, "Oh, you're a Black woman and you're overweight, so you must be diabetic." And so she refused to do any other testing. And so I had to, because I have a background in healthcare and I know how to advocate for myself, I didn't just let her dismiss me because I wasn't opposed to doing the diabetes screening. But I've also a history of underactive thyroid and some other things. And I said, can we also check those things? I also have history of iron deficiency. Can we check those things? No, I think you're probably diabetic. So when I was
Wow.
dismissed in that way, I found another clinician to order the test. And everything came back that was problematic except for the diabetes. I had so many nutrient deficiencies and all these different things and thyroid stuff and
Mhm.
hormonal imbalances. And so when I heard you say on one of the podcasts that I heard you on talk about knowing your numbers, I was like, that part, because you have to know what's going on in your body for the other people to help you. Because I was able to take that information once I knew my numbers, knew,
Mhm.
and I did. I had to get some supplements because some things, it was so bad that I couldn't just eat my way into improving that at that stage. So I had to start taking some things. But then I also was able to work with these coaches to help me prevent it from getting to a point where I would develop diabetes or hypertension. That was my goal. It's like, I don't want to have to take those medications. I know I have this other stuff going on. So I'll take the medications or the supplements I need to get my iron where it needs to be to help rebalance my hormones. But I can take all of this to these other holistic and wellness professionals and help me create a preventative plan that's sustainable, because that's the other thing. I don't really care for kale, but if you tell me I can make it in smoothies, I can make it in soups and things, I can do those things and just give
Mhm.
me practices that I can do more consistently. So I focus on having more of the good stuff in a way that I'm going to consume it and do that more often instead of, oh, I can't have a cookie. I don't trip off I can't, because I can have a cookie if I want to have a cookie. I'm just not going to have cookies every day. I'm going to do my
Right.
smoothies more than I'm going to
Or
have the
at
cookie.
just before you go to bed.
Yeah.
A cookie just
Right.
before you go to bed is going to spike your blood sugar. You are not going to fall
Yeah.
asleep.
No. But being educated about that has been done wonders for me to understand, how am I nourishing my body? Really just thinking about, if I choose to have the cookie, okay, first, why am I craving the cookie? Because
Yes.
that's important to understand, why
Because
am I
you're not
craving
craving the cookie. You're
it?
craving
Right.
sugar.
Yes. Am I tired? Am I stressed? Do I need a hug? Like all those things, like really thinking about, like, why am I craving this? And then I may realize, okay, I don't want or need that at all. I need this instead. And then sometimes I just may be like, I want to have a cookie. And that's
This
that's
is what I've
okay.
decided.
Yes, this is
But
what I've
it's a
decided. But it
what
was
you went
informed.
through is very, very, very helpful. Asking yourself the question,
Yeah.
what do I want? Why do I want it?
Yes.
And if the answer is I just want it because I want it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But going through the motions of asking yourself what you need and providing your body what you need is a huge step towards conscious eating. When we talk about intuitive eating, that is what intuitive eating is. People think intuitive eating is that your body just magically sends you these signals and you magically interpret them and then magically you choose the thing that you need. That is absolutely false. That is the fault of the wellness industry. The whole magical thinking, this, through unicorns and rainbows, we're just all going to be happy and healthy and balanced and everything's going to be fine. No, there is work involved in intuitive eating. All of our bodies are different. And what I said earlier about the aesthetic, about feeling fine in the aesthetic, the fact that a health professional looked at you and said, "Oh, you're overweight, so you have diabetes." That is a person relying on an aesthetic.
Yes.
It's absolute crap. I know super thin people with the worst cholesterol numbers in the world, and they're on cholesterol medications, even though they don't present as someone who would typically have high cholesterol. This is a big deal to know what's happening on the inside of your body. And none of us should be dismissed based on the way that we present. If I tell you that I am not feeling well, it is your job as a medical professional to help investigate why. Not to assume that because I present a certain way that, oh, this must be the thing. How do you know? You haven't looked inside of my body. Last time I checked, you were not an Eastern medicine practitioner. You are a Western medicine practitioner, which means we need an x-ray. We need some blood work. We need a CAT scan. You rely on machines to find out what's happening on the inside of my body. So please don't tell me that you can look at my eyes and look at my tongue and tell me what's going on. I'll go to the Chinese doctor for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But having that empowerment, and I when you said earlier about people being fearful and that's why they don't go to the doctor, that's the truth. I know a lot of people, when I told friends, because I was really upset when this doctor told me that. I was really, because I felt like crap. I actually was afraid that I had lupus because I felt like I had a lot of symptoms that correlated with that. And I was at a time where I had just started eating, being really more mindful about what I was eating. And I was trying to exercise, but I was so tired that I couldn't exercise. And it was just scary. And so I go to this healthcare professional who's this dismissive. And I'm like, okay, that's fine if you think that's what it is, but why can't we do the other test as well? And you don't want to look at my food log, because I had a food log. And what was interesting, and I got my wellness coach is who taught me to do that. So I was journaling what I was eating and then how I felt after I ate. And so that should have been a red flag to the doctor that maybe she also has some food sensitivities there, because there were certain things that I ate, wheat products and things, I would feel really fatigued. I had a gluten sensitivity because all these gut issues and things, but she didn't even look at my food log. Didn't even, because I had it on MyFitnessPal. Didn't even want to look at it. Wanted to do the diabetes screen.
That's the flip side. So as much as I fuss about the wellness industry being very dismissive of Western medicine can be very dismissive of a patient doing the work. I am not coming into your office and asking you to give me a pill and fix it so that I can continue to do the things that are harmful to me. I am telling you that I do not feel well. These are the things that I'm doing right now. Clearly, they are not enough. I need you to look inside my body and help me get a clearer picture of what is happening. We need a three-dimensional profile of what is happening on the inside and the outsides of our bodies. The way that we present physically to the naked eye is not always true. We have to be honest about that. Our biggest issue, especially in this country, and particularly in the Black community, is that we get caught up in the aesthetic. If a person is thin in our community, they don't
They're
have
healthy.
problems.
Yeah.
If a person is not thin in our community, they have all the problems.
Yeah.
Both things cannot be further from the truth. But we get so caught up in the aesthetic. And we also don't want to be told what to do. We don't want to be told that we have to fit into a mold or into an aesthetic that we are not naturally designed to fit into. We are not naturally designed to fit into a non-Black aesthetic. And because we live in a country where for a very, very, very long time, we were not seen, then we also have a natural resistance to eating healthy, to taking care of ourselves. What do those people know? Those people don't know me. They don't know my body.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on. We've always done this in my
Yeah.
family. We've always had this tradition. We've always used these ingredients or made these things this way. The thing about the gluten sensitivity is massive because I have dealt with clients who are like, oh no, that's not even a thing. I'm black. I don't have gluten sensitivity. That's not, we don't have that problem. And I'm like, oh, really? We
I
don't?
did, and
Do
I was
tell.
that person who I was like, "This can't be." Seeing the pattern there, I still denied it because I
Hmm.
was like, "I won't have that problem in my family. That can't be it." Even seeing it, I denied it
Yep.
myself until we did the screen.
Culture is a big deal.
Yeah,
Culture is a very big deal in how we conduct our lives as adults. The way that we grew up tends to be the way that we carry through, especially if we grew up in a way that wasn't particularly traumatizing, where we're not trying to get away from our past, but we carry traditions into our adult lives. And we don't think anything about that. We just are like, this is how my mother always made this particular dish, or this is how my grandmother always did this thing. So it's tradition, and those feelings about food are tied up in those traditions. So it's not just that you're making a dish a certain way, it's when you eat it, you feel closer to
yeah,
home. You feel memories. All of those things factor in. Culture is a very big deal. It factors into the way that we conduct our lives. And that is part of you being honest with yourself. How much of this is culture? How much of this reminds me of my family, reminds me of that great vacation we had or that thing we did where I feel warm and fuzzy. Each of us has a different attachment to something based on what we experienced with that thing in our past. Part of the work is finding out what that thing is, finding out what our triggers are, and finding out if those triggers are detrimental to us. They may not be. Some things are benign, right? Some things is like continue the tradition. It's been fine. But maybe some things aren't. And on top of culture, you might also be that one odd person out in your family where everybody ate the same thing and everybody was fine and nothing happened, but somehow it's happening to
yeah,
you, which is terribly unfair. I get it, but this is your body, and we want your body to be happy and balanced. So even though your cousins and your aunties and your uncles, everybody's fine. Nobody has this special reaction to this particular thing. They have different bodies. So that means when that thing comes around, you should pass, unless you just want to feel like
yeah.
crap.
You always have the choice.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, can you talk a little bit about how people can work with you so that they can learn how to listen to their body a little bit better and be able to identify those triggers and make some lifestyle changes that are sustainable and don't deny them of joy? Because a lot of times when people start talking about lifestyle changes, it's like, oh, what can I never have anything that I like anymore? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a foodie. I love food. I love That's part of what I love about travel. I love to try foods in different countries and I love different herbs and spices and flavors. And so if you tell me that I can only have kale and just green things for the rest of my life, I might do it for a few days.
You're not going to be
Yeah,
happy.
it's not going to happen. I'm going to keep it real. One thing about me, I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. And
You're like, no,
that's
that's
not
not
going to
happening.
happen. Yeah, I'm not gonna just eat green things forever. I need to be able to have my berries and all those things. I love salmon. You're not gonna take my salmon from me. Now, if you tell me I need to maybe stretch this out, maybe twice a week, okay. But now we got to explore other things. So, and working with
Right.
professionals like you can help people figure out what's their thing and how to be able to keep that in their life and make while making space for more of the things that their body actually needs and likes. So, how can people work with you to start transforming their life and health?
The easiest and quickest way to find me is through Instagram. It seems weird, but it's accessible. I get more inquiries through DMs than anything else. Ask me a question. It's fine. And if I can't help you, maybe I can point you in the direction of someone who can, right? Because I don't have all the answers. And there are some things where I'm like, you know what? This is above my pay grade. Let me see if we can talk to a doctor about this. Because some of this stuff is distinctly medical and way past, something that you can Google or maybe get like some surface or rudimentary information about. Some of the stuff is very complicated. But the easiest way to find me 100% is through an Instagram DM. I do not have any special handles. It is my name. You can just Google my name. You can find me through Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can email. There's an info email attached to all of the company pages and all of the Facebook pages. It's not that hard to find me, even if we start with something really huge in general, right? Because typically, by the time a person is like, okay, I need some help, it's not, I need help with my B levels, or I need help with folate, or I need help. It's like, I need help in this big,
Yeah.
huge way. And then we do the work to get more specific because maybe you don't need all of the things that you need. Because I do sometimes get people who just want me to throw everything at them. What do you have? Like, I need a workout plan. I need a nutrition plan. I need to buy all the things. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation because you probably don't need all of those things. And let's find out what you need so that we can be very specific. So the first thing you should do is shoot me a DM. I get DMs all the time. I've gotten so many clients through Instagram. It's the strangest thing. It's just odd DMs from all over the country. It's like, hey, I live in so and so, and I can't come to your classes, but I was wondering if you could train me virtually. Absolutely. Let's turn on the camera. Let's find out what's happening. Right? So that for me is the the most simple for me, the simplest path is the most effective path. Just Google my name, Shahada Karim. It's not hard to find me. My DMs are open. You ask me a question, I will do my best to answer it. And if I cannot answer it, then I will try to point you in a direction where I think you can get the help that you need.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'll have the link for your Instagram in the description box
Thank
on
you.
the YouTube and in the podcast apps to make it easy for people to be able to find you. And is there anything that you want to share before we wrap up?
I would like to invite everyone to the summer community cleanse. Our cleanse starts on July 15th. The thing about the cleanses is that they are seasonal. That means during the summer, we will eat the things that are in season. You were talking about your berries, a ton of blackberries and raspberries and strawberries and blueberries and cherries and watermelon and corn and all of the things that are really abundant during the hottest months. I think personally that the summer cleanse is the most fun because we have the most variety. You just get to experience all of the flavors and textures and colors and wonder that is food. When we talk about putting someone on a nutrition plan, and I heard you say, don't take this thing from me. What I like to invite people to think of is
Yeah.
all of the things you're going to gain. You're going to get to experience so many things that you didn't even know existed. Ingredients that will suddenly become a staple in your house. There are clients who never heard of a golden beet,
Yeah.
which is like my favorite beet in the world. And you can eat it raw or cooked, and it's just as amazing either way. We'll chop up some golden beets and throw it in with a good massaged kale with some mushrooms and brown rice and spicy sunflower seeds and have yourself an amazing salad.
Yeah. See this?
Right.
Good.
You can do those things. You can mix textures and colors and ideas with flavors. You can change flavor profiles. I've had people tell me the same thing about kale. Kale tastes like sadness. I don't want to eat kale. Right?
Yeah.
So we put kale into a tropical smoothie, which is amazing with mango and pineapple. It is such a good smoothie. And honestly, it doesn't taste good without the kale. If you
Mm.
put all the other ingredients in and you miss the kale, it's flat. As soon as you put the kale in, the entire thing lifts and you get this beautiful three-dimensional flavor. So there's so many ways to experience things that come out of the ground naturally and that are provided to us naturally without us having to rely on supplements, without us feeling deprived, like someone is taking something from you. The best part about our community is that people come from all types of experiences. We have a few people who don't do well with things on top of the stove, but they're bakers. And I'm not a baker. So I get all of my ideas from them. They'll be like, oh my God, I made this 5 ingredient cookie. You will approve of all of the ingredients and you can have as many as you want.
Y'all are
And I'm like,
baking
put it in
cookies
the
in
group,
your group?
tell everybody about it because there are people who think that they have to sacrifice a cookie. So please give them the 5 ingredient cookie. We found a 2 ingredient flatbread that's gluten free. I just put up a gluten-free naan recipe because people love naan, but they can't have the flour and they can't have the milk, right? So that's what the community is about. It is not about deprivation. It is not about feeling sad or feeling like in order to be part of this community, you have to look a certain way and have the same taste as everyone else. Everyone has different tastes. Every time I put up a recipe with mushrooms in it, I have a client who has a mushroom allergy, and she's like, "This is great. I'm just going to take out the mushrooms."
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. Take the mushrooms out. That's fine. I personally like the mushrooms. I'm going to keep them. So that is the best part for me is the community. I feel like sustainable practices become sustainable because there are other people walking that journey with you. There are people who understand how you feel when you are ready to burn down everything because you can't have a cup of coffee. There are plenty of people that will come and give you a hug and be like, I've been there. I got you. You know, if you just need to yell, please yell until the feeling passes. And here's a matcha smoothie to take the edge off so that you're not dying from caffeine deprivation. That's what we have the community for. The community is absolutely positively not about me. The community is about every single member. And it's super important that that community be diverse because what I explain to each member is that whatever you're going through, I promise you there's somebody in this community that needs to hear it, that's going through something similar and has just not gotten to the space where they feel like they can speak up and be honest about it in public. So be brave, tell your story, we got you.
I gotta check that out. The description of the foods sold me. Oh my
Oh, the foods are awesome. You are gonna love shrooms. You are gonna love it. There's so many ways to enjoy mushrooms. There's so many ways to enjoy food. The big issue with the health movement is that the people at the forefront of that movement who fit a certain aesthetic, who have the right chain of words and the proper following and the proper
yeah,
colors and schemes,
yeah,
the food is bland.
yeah.
I don't want to eat salads every day. I shouldn't have to equate a salad with being healthy. That's not sustainable. I don't always want to have a salad. I like so many things. And the challenge is just to open up enough and to learn enough about the food that you eat to make those things happen in your body. I've been vegan for 7 years. I still enjoy some of the most delicious burgers I've ever had. I still make food the way that I prepared food when I was eating meat. It is just as flavorful and just as filling and just as satisfying. You should not feel like you're lacking in the
Yeah.
name of having good
Yeah.
numbers.
And you get so much more variety. That's one thing I've noticed from people who I know who are vegan or even vegetarians. When people who have a more plant-based diet, they're eating better than I am. And by that I mean they have more variety and a lot more they're a more enhanced flavor profile because there's more options and they're getting to experiment more.
I've actually said that to people. People have asked me, "How don't you miss meat? How do you make meals? without meat. And what I tell them is that you have 4 options. You have chicken, beef,
Yeah.
fish,
Yeah.
or pork. You have 4.
Yeah.
I have thousands of options and combinations that do not involve those 4 options, thousands of flavor profiles. There are so many ways to do things. I have male clients who are like, they came in as like the biggest carnivores on earth, right? All the steak, all the meat. Lady, you cannot get me to eat a salad. You cannot get me to eat a cucumber. There is a YouTube channel that I love run by 2 brothers who are addicted to barbecue, and they barbecue mushrooms. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Would you like a challenge? Go see these guys. They'll give you the recipes. You will never miss it. They make steaks that will blow your mind. Absolutely blow. And they do it on the grill. They make things traditionally the way you would prepare a piece of meat. They prepare it with vegetables, and it has all of the flavors and all of the textures that you think you missed, right? Because you didn't have a piece of meat on your plate. These guys are amazing. I adore them. And I've even used some of their techniques to the point where when I wrote the recipe, I have to put in a notation that I got the technique from them. I did not invent the technique. I learned this technique watching these 2 men cook.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Do you remember their name?
Yeah, it's Derek and Chad Sarno. They run a YouTube channel called Wicked Kitchen.
Okay. I'll have to check that out too.
They also have a Wicked Healthy YouTube, but I think what they did was they merged them. So Wicked Kitchen stuff is not always healthy. Sometimes they use stuff and I'm like, you need to cut back on the sugar or like vegan butter or whatever they threw in there. But everything is plant-based.
Okay.
Everything that they make is plant-based. They, as a matter of fact, this summer we will have it. They made a firecracker coleslaw that we have every summer cleanse. They gave us the recipe. So I put the recipe in the community. And every now and then somebody be like, I made Derek's firecracker coleslaw and it is so good.
Gosh.
So
Okay.
it's not just my recipes. We use recipes during the cleanse. Anything that I find that's approved, I have to approve it for ingredients. But there are 200 recipes just for them to access whenever they feel like it that don't have anything to do with their meal plan. So you get a plan. If you do a program with me, you get a plan for 3 weeks. What happens when you come off of that plan is you can stay in your healthy space with thousands more options. So what my team does is they gather recipes that are guilt-free recipes, recipes where you don't have to think about things, where every single ingredient serves a purpose. And there's not that one thing or those 2 things in there where like, oh, I know this isn't really healthy, but we're just going to do this time. The recipes that go into the group, everything is fine. You can take the recipes and not have to stress about what is in them. And for me, and this is key, you do not have to stress about portion control. Personally, I don't believe in portion control. Portion control leads to deprivation. Deprivation leads to falling off the wagon, overeating, feeling guilty, being on the shame train, and now we're back to square one. If I tell you you can have this really delicious thing, but you can only have 2 ounces of it, you're going to be really sad. Because maybe your body wants 6 ounces or 10 ounces, right? So when you balance your body, you stop counting calories, you stop counting macros, you stop stressing out about this little thing here or this little thing there because you are fully aware of what is in the thing that you are eating. That awareness starts with you being honest with yourself.
Wow. And this starts July 15th.
15th.
Okay.
July 15th, we start the cleanse. I try to avoid starting cleanses on Monday or Friday. That's part of diet culture, right? I'm just going to kill myself all weekend and then on Monday I'm going to be healthy. We just pick a date. And if that date falls on Wednesday, that's when we start.
Excellent. I'm excited for this. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very
I'm
welcome.
so excited for this. Well, I have enjoyed chatting with you, and Is there anything else you want to leave the audience with before we say bye? And
I would just like to publicly say that whatever space you find yourself in at this particular moment, it's enough and it's an education. Take it as information. Where you are right now, how you feel, take it as an education. Even if the education is, I don't want to feel like this anymore. At least acknowledge where you are so that you can grow. The more we are honest with ourselves, the more we have the opportunity to develop our potential. You can be so much greater than you think you can. Your body follows your mind, right? So if your mind tells you you can't, then you won't. But if you open to possibility and you open to really being honest and asking yourself the hard questions, and you can do that in private, you don't have to do it in public or tell anybody about it. The more you are open, the more likely you are to evolve.
thank you.
You're welcome.
We will see you all next week.